right, so Simo is back after taking a break for a week.
I'm back.
I'm back too. So no introductions this week. We're gonna be sad people, right, Simo?
Where did you go
Oh, I'm right here.
the whole time?
Oh, where did I go? To the moon.
Okay.
I was on the moon base because of the ban list.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, ban list. That's a good discussion.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about today, the ban list.
Okay.
And we're going to be talking about the format and maybe a little bit of the ban list. We don't want to sit here and make a video discussing the ban list because everyone else already made discussions on the ban list.
Including ourselves.
Yeah, but there's little things we'll touch on because they have to do with the format.
Yeah.
Right, Seaman?
Exactly.
I gotcha. Yes, responds. Just kidding. I love Simo. So, where are we going to start?
Well, we were talking about Maxx C to 1 before the video, and whether or not you should play the 1 Maxx C, so I think that'd be a good place to start.
So, if you're playing Zoo, and Zoo got the Necros treatment, first off. They alive. Now they're just 2-card combos, right?
Go check out my video.
No, stop. Yes.
Free promotion.
Yes, check out his video on all these 2-card combos that this man has.
1-card combos.
Okay, same shit, Seaman. Why am I calling you Seaman all video? It's
don't
stuck.
know.
It's
I
stuck
don't know.
ever since I was fucking with you the other day. So, if you're playing Zoo, Maxx C is still very relevant to you, I would assume. Now, like I was telling you earlier, Simo, like, they were like, nice Vanity's Emptiness we have. No, fuck that shit. You know, like, make Maxx C make it the new Emptiness.
Yeah.
And now every Yu-Gi-Oh player is going to complain about, oh, my opponent had the Maxx C. Well, fuck my asshole.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm gonna play it. I don't know why you wouldn't play it. It's the 39th card now, or the 40th.
I mean, I guess the argument I have for it is, it's still in the game, and it's at 1 for a reason, but if you kind of look at it in comparison to other cards that are at 1, you know, like, let's take Soul Charge as an example. I know that's like a very, contrasting of cards there, but Soul Charge versus Maxx C are kind of, 2 completely different cards for what they do, but that crass. I feel like it's arguable because Maxx C is still an incredibly good card and it always will be as long as it exists, but question being is if you're not going to see it hardly at all, being a 1-of now, is it worth even playing for what it can do for you? Because I feel like if you're running a card like Soul Charge as a 1-of or Vanities before
hold up, bro. Patrick Hoban's on the line right now. He's calling in. He said Upstart Goblin wants to have a conversation with you.
That's fair. Okay. You got me. I can't argue with you.
The look of disappointment on his face was the most beautiful thing ever. He's like, you got me. I mean, Upstart does it. Maxx C is a card that will deck thin you for the potential, and it's a card that, unlike Upstart Goblin, it could potentially get the game back to your turn unless your opponent has a literal OTK scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, why not?
Well, I can argue with you that Upstart is at least proactive because you can use Upstart in, your opening hand, so that's, you're getting a card out, whereas Maxx C, if you're going first, is dead, and that could be something else.
So we're considering Maxx C a trap card.
No, but I mean, I'm just saying in terms of proactivity versus reactivity, with the Upstart example, there is that. But I still think you're still going to want to play the 1-of Maxx C.
Well,
I'm just trying to make arguments as for, like, should you not play the 1 Maxx C because
I wanted
you're
to
not
follow. Wanted to follow your train of thought here because if we're considering Maxx C to be the equivalent to a trap card, a lot of people in this format might be reducing the amount of trap cards in the deck. Granted, the format might be slower by 1 turn, but if you consider Maxx C as the equivalent to a trap card that you have to force it and hold it till the next turn, as a card that doesn't generate a combo for you, then yes, I would consider it a trap card, and you have to make the decision at that point if you want to play it based on that logic.
Yeah. And so you were showing grass on your camera a minute ago.
No, I wasn't. I was holding a mysterious card.
So in grass decks, people were playing the 2 Maxx C. Some people weren't, but a lot of people still are because, if they happen to draw it, good for them. Are you still going to play the 1-of Maxx C in grass decks because now the chance of you getting that is extremely low, or are you just going to play another card that synergizes much better with the deck naturally that you don't really care because you'd rather have, I don't know, anything that's just better.
I mean, does
something.
only having Maxx at 1 make me want to play Reasoning and Monster Gate now? That
Does it?
I don't know. Like, that's a question I can't answer. Like,
Yeah.
Every time I touch my friend's 60 card brick, I lose, but he opens the nuts. Like, I don't understand it.
I think where I'm trying to go with this is before, no matter what in your deck building, 2 Maxx was an auto include.
Yes.
Like, no matter what. But now that it's at 1, I feel like that's not an auto include, and that's going to be your 37th, 38th, 39th card that you're going to say, okay, I have everything else figured out. Okay, I'm just going to throw in the 1 Maxx because it works. If that's what I'm trying to get at now.
With the release of dinosaurs, though, in the TCG, are we going to put more of an emphasis on Ghost Ogre? Because Maxx was one of those cards that I feel like you comboed with the Ogre as a card to further accelerate into the Ogre. Now, do we still just play 1 Maxx, 2 Ogre, or do we go to 3 Ogre to ensure the hard draw on the Ogre? I mean,
when's the Dino deck get released in TCG? April something?
I thought it was like 4/10.
It's okay. So we don't get Ghost Ash until May, and that matters.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm looking at this format through the end of April, I would assume.
Yeah. Okay. So that's important, and I agree with you because Maxx, especially in tandem with other hand traps, is incredible. Even like DD Crow or just anything that you can immediately use just makes Maxx that much better. But again, that just goes to your point. I mean, you could just play a 3rd Ogre instead of playing the Maxx if you're playing 2, assuming. So that's just another thing you have to weigh, or you can play both.
Yeah. It's interesting. We'll let you viewers give your opinions on this because
I feel like there's really no like one correct answer on this. It just really comes down to your deck building, whatever you feel when you analyze the meta. If you feel like that 1 Maxx is worth it in your deck or not.
Not really like detouring from the current subject, but a little fun fact here on the ban list. I don't think we're getting a ban list till after the WCQ because Tyrant Neptune got banned. Little fun fact.
That's true.
I don't think you really caught that, did you? Because the whole Tyrant combo comes in maximum, and then we get Link summoning maximum, in June. Yeah.
I know they were being proactive with that because they usually are with a lot of like those stupid degenerate FTKs like that. So, because there's no point to get another list before Nats because we just get maximum and then what? That's pretty much it. We have Nats Link, and then we get Link summoning right after.
Yep, good format, right? Like, whatever fucked up at Nats happens, they'll semi-clean it up before Link format, I would think. Yeah. Because the TCG has to go through all the erratas that Japan's currently going through.
That's a good thing as well to talk about is we still at this time of us recording this do not know if we're getting Necro Valley and Duelist Saga, and that is very important because Necro Valley's errata for the duration of this format right now with Paleo and Infernoid looking like god decks, the Necro Valley errata literally shits on both of those decks. So if we get that reprint and errata in Duelist Saga and they just haven't announced it yet, that's going to be a huge game changer for the format.
Speaking of some game changers, I just want to play ABC this format.
A lot of people are talking about that since Union Hanger dodged the list.
I mean, but okay, so we're going to talk about Zoo and ABC kind of in tangent here. So Zoo can do everything that Zoo could do now, potentially still in 1-card combos, worst case scenario, 2-card combos.
Yep.
You'll still be able to generally assume the same thing. So assuming that Zoo still does what Zoo does, a normal summon on an ABC player's field and it gets blown the fuck out, what do? It's the same.
You mean like Trident?
Yeah,
like you
Dryden, pop your Tsukiyomi play. Like the only thing you do is just set. Like,
well, because ABC could play the cards like My Body and Chalice in the deck. Yeah, so then you go because ABC was playing 3 Chalice before ABC pretty much stopped being played in mass.
Oh yeah, because of the hit in Japan.
Right, exactly. So you could honestly, you go Thrasher, summon A in Union Hanger or whatever, then they attempt to Trident you, you just Chalice Trident, and then you're all clear, hoping they don't have Dimensional Barrier. But, I mean, it's the fact that Union Hanger's still around is huge. And I think it's something a lot of people are overlooking because, like, Totally Awesome got hit in the OCG to 1, Union Hanger got hit to 1. A lot of decks that OCG currently could not play, we still have available. And I think that's something that we should really be considering, especially for the competitive scene moving forward.
Sorry to detour from the meta discussion, but this brings up an interesting point when comparing the TCG and the OCG. The TCG looks like they're being a lot more... Is proactive the word I'm looking for?
I think they're being a lot more open.
Yeah, like, okay, so Totally Awesome gets checked with the release of Leica and everything at Maximum Crisis. So what's the point of limiting it to one if the metagame's going to naturally check itself?
Right.
And unfortunately, for some reason, they've chosen to leave Norden floating in the void, which Norden post-Crisis is going to be the most retarded shit I've ever seen in my life for Yu-Gi-Oh! Like,
not only did they leave Norden unchecked, they also left Instant Fusion unchecked. At least if they checked one of them.
But if that's... Okay, so let's make the argument here that Norden gets checked by Link Summoning.
Which it does, arguably.
So what's the point in hitting it if we're just going to unban it at said time later? Like, how far out does this list go for checking? And was Kieran really that much of a problem X months down the road from here?
Well, it's the same thing with Dimensional Barrier. I mean, Dimensional Barrier doesn't affect Link monsters at all.
I feel like Dimensional Barrier is going to be a card that will eventually drift into being a sideboard card.
Yeah.
It's very sad to say that because that card is so fucking good. But just looking at the list going forward, though, I think that they designed this list with the intention to go 6 to 8 months out, and they were just like, we don't like Kieran, kill it. And Norden just gets checked by what we've already mentioned. You know,
yeah.
So it's just little tidbits I'm noticing at the moment that's a little bit weird and is affecting the metagame.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm really excited to see YCS Denver in a few weeks because that's going to be really interesting to see how much the power shift is in terms of the meta because, I mean, you got Paleo, you got Infernoid, and you got Zoo as your top 3 decks right now, but who knows if ABC might come up, who knows if Water might come up.
Heroes
could come up. Yeah, there's still so many different decks that didn't get touched and are still completely viable, especially now that Zoo's been checked to an extent that it requires, a bit more resources than just one card to do all the crazy combos. So I actually really think Denver is going to be a very interesting event.
I'm going to be the odd man out here and say that unlike most other people that said my Paleo matchup with ABC is shit, I still think that once a Dragon Buster touches the field against Paleo, like, what the fuck do you do?
Well, so that's the thing. So because now that we have the list, a lot of people are gravitating towards Paleo as the best deck. And we've seen that with the secondary market, with Card of Demise and Toad being basically bought out for the most part and doubling in price since the list dropped. So are people going to analyze that and say, okay, if a lot of people are playing Paleo, what has a really good Paleo matchup? Okay, ABC has a good Paleo matchup. So then are more people going to be inclined to play ABC as a result of the Paleo pool becoming much larger in the meta? That's something that...
Paleo is one of those decks, though, like, when I watch them play, they only get better the later the game goes. And Zoo's one of those... Not Zoo. ABC's one of those decks that turn 2, like, a Dragon Buster on the board. Like, at that point, like, where you pass the threshold to where your deck becomes good, as opposed to your deck sitting up, I think ABC slams it a lot harder before we cross that line.
Yeah. I agree, and I almost feel that ABC kind of does what Zoo does to an extent because, when you go turn 1, make your bust or whatever, then, on your opponent's turn, you detach to get all your guys back. You have, like, and then on your turn again, you make all your rank 4s and stuff, kind of like what Zoo did, and you just play Karen Gorgon, that immediately shuts off 60% of what Paleo even plays to stop you, and then as long as they don't have D-Barrier, you're fine. And then you just make double Buster and just wreck them.
Yeah, it's a very interesting scenario. Like, Zoo, or ABC for double of the Xyz plays, like, you're in a very good position.
Yeah.
And I think it's... The only big problem I have with ABC as a deck is just if something happens to your normal summon and you can't do something else, you're going to have a bad time.
But Zoo is almost in that predicament now as well, because it requires more resources now and is much more focused on burning a normal summon to do the combos. You can make that same argument for Zoo now.
That is very true. But ABC doesn't have a barrage. ABC does have Thrasher and Instant Fusion, yes.
That's fair.
But Zoo has barrage, Instant Fusion, and I guess you can even argue that if you're playing some weird-ass build, maybe Thrasher as well.
Well, ABC has Instant Fusion, but...
so does Zoo.
Yeah. I mean, Barrage is now not as good as it once was because of Rat getting limited to 2. And so I feel like if you summon Rat and Rat gets, hit by Strike or something on the effect, even if you have Barrage, it doesn't really matter because you can't do your full combo like you used to, so you're in a much weaker position even with a card like Barrage. So funny enough, by hitting Errata 2, they actually weakened, in my opinion, what the best card is in the deck overall, which is Barrage.
For every person in the game that was like, the Rat Pier hit was terrible, it was the only thing they really had to do. Like, at the moment, like, it checked the deck so hard. And
how many times did we say in the past, like, oh, if Rat goes to 2, like, that's all we need?
Dude, no, like, we talked about it, and it almost goes hand in hand with, you know, Konami being more open on this list. You get to play more cards, and they just hit the problem instead of fucking around and going around it, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, I think Japan banning everything and doing it the way they did was a little bit too harsh, it seems.
I agree.
But in the yeah, go on.
That just opened up for Zoo to just completely take over, because Zoo and True Kings were your only two options at that point. I guess Infernoid to an extent, but Infernoid just lost to just
Ghost Ash
most of the time. Yeah, Ghost Ash, basically.
Today's video has been brought to you by That Grass Looks Greener. Simo, I'm coming over to your house.
Can we talk about Imperial Order?
No, we can't, because that card's too good. So, every Yu-Gi-Oh player's been shitting their pants because they realize that Imperial Order plus Paleozoic is fucking disgusting.
See, the thing is, you and I are actually old enough and have played this game long enough to when we actually got to play Imperial...
you little shits.
We got to play when Imperial Order was actually legal before it hit the list for 20 fucking years or whatever.
My cookie cutter chaos deck fucking still got a double slaved and everything. Fucking first edition. My Mirage of Nightmare, fucking draw 4, discard 4.
Oh, God.
Didn't draw my emergency provisions. Fucking got back in my day.
Oh, my God. I mean, it's very rare that I think they make a card better. They made it better.
So, you know... Another video for us to do. If you guys want to see this idea, make sure you thumbs us up. Gambling's on our back burner as well, but cards on the ban list for potential erratas. What can they do to make Dragon Rulers, Mirage of Nightmare, things like that legal? You
know, I don't know how you feel about this with Dragon Rulers, but I actually was okay when all the Dragon Rulers were at 1.
I think the Dragon Rulers should have an errata that says you can play one of them in like 1 per deck. Like that's
because I loved the synergy they provided to I love Tidal in water. You know, I loved when people were using Redox in a bunch of different decks as well, or people were using Blaster in other decks. Like that type of synergy was really cool, but then the problem was people discovered like Hieratic Dragon Ruler and Lightsworn Dragon Ruler, and that kind of just like shit on.
Yu-Gi-Oh has never ever had a card restriction on the cards outside of you can only activate 1 copy of or 1 effect of this card per turn. They've never said on a card that you can only include 1 copy of this in a deck.
Yeah, like the most that they have is something like Glow Up Bulb, which is like you can only use the effect once per duel. That's the closest thing that we have to that.
I don't know why they've never printed cards like that, because that would eliminate the factor of the ban list. Shit, like you could put a Pot of Greed right out of the pack and be like limited to 1. That way we don't have to deal with the bad format.
Like they could even print a little symbol on the card that says, you know, like that would be like a limited or semi-limited symbol.
Like they did for the Archfiends.
For the Archfiends.
Yeah, look at the common summon skull that underneath the line. It says this card is always treated
that says
as an
like
Archfiend.
This card is also treated as an Archfiend. Yeah, they could just do that. I mean, granted, it kind of sucks if the format shifts to a point where a card gets too good, and then that kind of fucks with everything. But I still think it's a cool idea if it, you know, had it on the card, because then that way people aren't confused.
That's not all, folks. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Please check out my Cardfight Vanguard channel, VanCole40. You guys will get an insight on our playtesting sessions. And please check out the Zodiac Duelist TV Twitch stream. That way you guys can follow the House of Champions and MCole40 interactions. Please check out MCole Games for all of your guys' trading card game needs. And if you guys enjoyed this content, please check out my Patreon in the description. Every bit helps to the creation of these videos. 1 step at a time in improvement, and that's the goal of this channel. Alright guys, have a good time, and thanks for watching.